Hi friends, it's Emma and welcome to a very new video for me. So this is going to be my January reading wrap up, and this is the first video of this type that I have filmed before. So obviously it's going to be a bit of like a learning, and like hopefully it's not too awkward, and I'm a bit uncomfortable, a bit nervous, but as some of you know if you watched my previous videos, my 2025 goal was to make more content for one, and then also like branch out my content. So this is me trying to do that. This video will be going up first, and then if you are not so into hearing about the actual books themselves and my in-depth thoughts on them, I do have a reading journal like flip through going up for each month as well. So that there will be a bit of overlap between the two, obviously, because it's kind of the same stuff that I'm talking about, but I feel like you might find different things in different videos. So if you want more of the high level stats, my spreads that I put together, and a bit of a brief overview on the books, maybe the reading journal video is best for you. But if you want a bit more in-depth thoughts on the books themselves, then maybe this one's right. So one disclaimer, I am absolutely not an expert and I'm very new at this. I do watch a lot of these videos, and I feel like there is so much like language that people use in the community that is just like not natural to me yet. So I'm just going to talk about books, what I read, what I liked, what I didn't, my thoughts, my feelings, try not to give too many spoilers away, and hopefully it's enjoyable. So hopefully you guys enjoy it and we come back for February, but at this stage we're just gonna see how we go. So let's jump into all of the books that I read for the month of January. So the first book that I finished in January is called Legendary by Stephanie Garber, and this is the second book in the I think it's called the Caraval series. The first book's called Caraval, and I feel like that's also the name of this series. And I have the, I don't know if this is a special edition. I don't think it's a special edition. I just have the hardback with like the gold foil version, because I really liked this book. So I read Caraval at the end of last year and I didn't love it. I don't know, it felt quite young and a little bit naive. There's not much really happened in the story, and I don't know, I didn't really connect with it. And honestly, I could have stopped and like finished the series right then and there, but something just made me say give it one more go and give the second one a try. I was kind of needing a book that tided me over the new year, like into January, before I got into some books that I really wanted to read in January. And I just thought, like, you've already read the first one, why don't you just get on a roll and read the second one? And I'm really glad I did, because I loved this book a lot more, and I like this one so much so that I actually will now continue the series, which is quite a turnaround on the first one, how I really was like, I think I even wrote in my review that that was probably it for the series. So we had a huge turnaround. I rated this one 4 stars. I read it on my Kindle, which I'm pretty sure I read every book this month on my Kindle. I only got my Kindle a couple of months ago, and so it's been a really new, exciting experience for me, and I've been reading all my books on there. Yeah, so I rated it 4 stars. It is obviously the second one in the series, so I don't want to give too much away. But it follows the same, like the Caraval, I don't know what, like, thing that comes to, like, that moves around and comes to town, but it's from the first book is from Scarlett's point of view, and the second book is from her sister Donatella's point of view. And as I mentioned, I thought there was a whole lot more that happened in this book. More plot, more characters, the world really expanded as well, which is something I enjoy, especially in a sequel. I feel like obviously the first one has to set the tone and set the world, and you learn characters and, you know, you get to know people, and then the second one, I think it's important to really expand the world and grow the magic and the system and the lore, and I feel like this book did this really well. It answered a lot of questions, but also left a lot of questions open for future as well, which I think is important for a second book. There are 3 normal, like full-size books, and then one novella. So I don't know if I'll get to them in February, but I'm hoping maybe to get to the third book and the novella in March, because I really want to finish up the series. And then I believe the characters in this are then interconnected with the Once Upon a Broken Heart series as well. So eventually I would like to get to reading that. But yeah, overall I really liked this book. It was 4 stars, and it reignited the fact that I would read more in this series again, which wasn't looking likely. So next up, I picked up Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I chose this book because I wanted a book that is a standalone and I didn't need to like devote my whole life and soul to. So being a romantasy reader primarily, I feel like you have to read a lot. Like there's often a lot of books in series, and then you have to, like, as I was just saying, read the first one, which sets the tone, and then you read the second one to get the payoff. And I just feel like I just wanted a standalone. I wanted something easy to read, quick, and I don't have to like spend time investing in the series. I just wanted something easy. And I honestly don't know where I found this, whether it was on TikTok or like YouTube or Goodreads even, but now that I've read it, I see that it is like super popular and was actually one of the most, like, I think it's in the Goodreads romantasy, like top most popular from last year. So it makes sense that I was seeing it everywhere, but at the time I didn't know how popular it was. It's also my first Ali Hazelwood book, and from what I understand, it's like kind of different from her normal stuff. But in saying that, I have just picked up her brand new book that came out yesterday called Deep End, because I liked this one so much, so I'm going to give her another go. Although generally I'm not so much of a traditional romance reader, aside from what you'll see next. I'm more like romantasy, and I know this one is kind of like that's not normally what she writes, but I did really enjoy this one. It follows the main character Misery, who's a vampire, and then her arranged marriage to like the alpha of the like rival werewolves. And I just felt like it was like almost an adult Twilight, and I'm a Twilight girly from like forever, so it just kind of spoke to the, I don't know, what I like to read. Like I love this kind of story and these kind of characters, and the like vampires and werewolves have always been my thing, so it just felt really natural to me. Again, I liked that there was no, like, this is the first and only book, so I didn't need to invest any time. I just read it, and then in saying that, I really wish there was more because I loved it so much, but I don't often read standalone, so I did really enjoy that part of it. I liked the kind of enemies to lovers trope. I do like that when it's done well, and I feel like this was done pretty well. I didn't love the breakup, which I believe is called a third act breakup. I've seen people say that. That kind of seems to happen in romance books. It just felt forced a little bit. But in saying that, overall, I did rate this book 5 stars, and I read it in one go, like one day. I couldn't put it down. I just wanted to keep reading and keep reading and keep reading, which I think for me shows really like the sign of a good book. So I rated it 5 stars, and again, it's going to make me try some, other books from Ali Hazelwood, so we'll see how the others match up, I guess. After that, I read my book club book for January. So I joined a book club because I really want to get out and experience some new books that I wouldn't know about, and new genres and new like 2025 is all about getting out there and trying different things for me. So I joined an online book club from a YouTube creator that I follow, because I don't know, I feel like I just wanted something different. And so the book for January was called Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, and unfortunately I really did not like this book. I rated it 2.5 stars, which I think is my lowest ever rating. Like, I really didn't like it. It just did not, nothing happened. It's just fantasy. There was no romance, and that's okay. I was trying to branch out. However, I feel like without the romance, there was no story. Nothing happened. Like, it just, I finished the book. It took me so long to, I think it took me 4 days to finish, and it's like a really thin book because I just didn't want to read it. I had no motivation to know what happened next and what are the characters going to do and who's going to develop, and it just like took 4 days of just meandering through nothing, and I really did not like it. The main character Mira is, so she's a princess, and her mum puts her in a convent for 15 years of her life to kind of get her away from, like, she's the youngest sister, and her oldest sister was married to a king in a different region, and then she died or probably was killed, and then the middle sister gets married to the same guy, and then so her mum, the queen, sends her to this convent to like escape that. And then in the process, she becomes incredibly naive and just has no life experience, like, she's obviously part of a royal family. Although it's a small kingdom, she's still part of a royal family. And then so when things happen and she needs to, like, be part of the politics, it just feels like she has no idea. And she's like 33, I think, from memory. And it's like reading a 15-year-old as the main character. I just did not connect with that at all. It just felt like you were following like a 15-year-old, but she wasn't. She was 33, and so she was stumbling her way through, and then really the story isn't even about her. She like recruits people on this journey to save someone, but they do all the work. She just like stumbles along and is like the narrator, but everyone else does all the work. So I don't know, it really did not do it for me. I gave it 2.5 stars because I didn't hate it at the end of the day. I didn't DNF it. Partly because it was a book club book. It was also the first book club book of the year, and so I didn't really want to DNF the first one. If it wasn't a book club book, I probably would have DNF'd it, so I guess that, I don't know if that rating really counts, but if I DNF something, it's a 1. If I don't, it's at least a 2, and then as I said, I didn't hate it. So I gave it 2.5 stars, but I wouldn't recommend it. And I also wouldn't read anything else by this author now either. I was so off-put by this book. It just did not do it for me. If you've read it, outside of the book club, I've seen no one else I know read it. If you've read it and you don't hate it, can you please let me know what you see in it? Because I just don't get it. So moving on from that one. Now we move to kind of the opposite. So something that I really did enjoy, and that was something that came completely out of left field, and I never would have pinned myself down for this, reading it ever. I came across it on a TikTok after reading Nettle and Bone, and I was just like, it was probably a week and a half till Onyx Storm, and I just was like, what the hell? Sorry, that's my cat on the cardboard box next to you. What the hell am I gonna read next? I just had no idea. And then I came across this TikTok, and this person was so passionate about Elsie Silver, and in particular the Chestnut Springs series, but then she was saying how, like, you've got to read all of the books, and then she did a reading order, and the Gold Rush Ranch series was actually first. And so I was like, you know what? I got nothing to lose. I just read a shit book. Why not? You love like Yellowstone, the TV show. Your favorite state in the US was Wyoming. Like, why not? Why not go, even though this is set in Canada, but the cowboys and the landscape and the scenery, why not give it a go? And I am so glad I did, because now I will definitely be reading all of the books in this series. So I have the Gold Rush Ranch series here. And I literally liked it so much, so I read it on Kindle, and I liked it so much I went out and bought them. Like, that shows I don't buy a lot of not hard copy, like physical books. This is my only 2 bookshelves. Like, I really, and that's the what is it, 1, 2, 3 shelves on each side, so I really don't own that many physical books. And so I went out and bought these, which shows like how much I really enjoyed it. So the first one is Off to the Races, and I rated this 3.5 star. So this follows so all of them are from a dual point of view, and this one follows Billy, and I can't even think of his name. I didn't love him. What's his name? Jesus, I'm gonna fucking... Vaughn, that's it. Billy and Vaughn. And Billy is this really headstrong, self-sufficient, self-made female character, which I love, especially in a male-dominated industry. And so she's all about making a name for herself. And then she meets Vaughn, who's essentially her boss, and like she's nervous about the... like, because she's so strong and self-made, and then she's getting involved with her boss and how that's going to look and all that sort of thing. Takes place on a cowboy ranch. It's not a cowboy ranch. It's a cowboy ranch in my head. It's a ranch in Canada, and it's all about horses and how that operates. And so Billy has a horse that she trains to be a racehorse, and Vaughn is the owner of the ranch who hires Billy to like turn the horses around. I don't know the terms. I'm not a cowboy. But I loved this. It was a perfect start to the series. 3.5 stars in this case means I loved it. It was fun. It was quick. It's literally like only like this thick. So was it the most amazing story ever written? No. Was it groundbreaking? No. Was it full of tropes? Yes. But it was exactly what I needed, and it was exactly what it said it was going to be. So I really liked this one. Then we have a photo finish, which was my favorite one of this series. So I rated this 4 stars, and again, I feel like 4 stars is probably the highest something like this could be, because it's a short, silly romance book that, again, was the most amazing thing ever written. No. Was the plot amazing? Not really, but I loved it. And so 4 stars is like a great rating, and this is probably the one that I would potentially reread. I don't know if I'd reread the others because, I mean, once you've read them, you know the story, but I did really like this one. So this follows Violet and Cole, and they initially meet online on like a spicy, like, I don't want to call it dating, but like a spicy website, I guess. And they talk backward and forward for like a year, and then she finally opens herself up, figuratively and literally, like she gets on the camera naked, and then he freaks out and she freaks out, and then she ghosts him for 2 years, and then he appears on the ranch that she's working at, and it ends up being that Cole is Vaughn's brother from the previous book. So they're all interconnected. I think it's called an interconnected standalone series, but I could be wrong. But yeah, so that's the brother, and then he is like 50 shades of fucked up. Like, he is a war veteran and is like mentally not well, and then ends up, he has like a prosthetic leg that he has kept hidden from everyone his whole life, and it's like, I think they call this Grumpy Sunshine, even though the last book that I read that I'll get there is Grumpy Sunshine, and I really didn't like this. But he definitely was a bit more like gruff, and she is like, I don't know, sunshine. So I really liked it. She was trying to fix him, which I feel like is a trope that I really enjoy. And she did fix him, and you know, happy ending and all that. But yeah, I would read this one again. 4 stars, really enjoyed it. Then I read The Front Runner, which is the 3rd book, and this follows the kind of rival guy, Stefan Delka, and I was not looking forward at all to getting his story, because in the other 2 books, obviously he's perceived as an asshole because it's their point of view, and I didn't want to read it, but I'm glad I did. He surprised me a lot. I rated this one 3.5 stars as well, only because it just wasn't quite as good as a photo finish, but I did really enjoy it. I didn't love the female main character. Pretty sure it's Dr. Mira from memory. What does it say? I'm pretty sure it's Dr. Mira. I didn't love her as much. I just felt like she was a little bit annoying. Like, she clearly knew what she wanted, but just like she was worried about what other people would think, and I don't know, I didn't connect with her quite as much as I did with the other female characters in the series so far, but I did rate it 3.5 star. I did like their relationship was more like started from friendship versus like enemies or whatever. I kind of liked that natural development of a relationship. There's also a bit of fake dating in here, which I know some people love. Doesn't really do it for me one way or another, but that is in there. Yeah, really liked this one overall. Then I read the novella, which is called Out of the Gate, and this is actually book 1.5, but I didn't know there was a novella until this point in the series, and I just decided to read it. I think it took me like a day. I just wanted to get through it. And this is set, so Vaughn and Cole, of the first two books, their grandfather, I can't think of his name, it starts with D. Their grandfather, it's like set that time ago when he meets their grandma, and it's about their story. I did find it a little bit creepy because he knows her as a child and it just felt a little off. So I didn't like this for the romance, but I did really like this book for the context that it gave for the rest of the series, and it kind of sets up the scene for why things happened, and you can kind of understand things that you learn about in the main series. You can kind of put two and two together why the grandfather did what he did, because at the start of the main series he's just passed away, and so the characters don't get to talk to him and ask what he did, but the novella kind of provides that context. So I liked it for that. I didn't love it for the romance. And then my last book in January, which I'm going to keep in this section even though I read another book in the middle, but it just kind of makes sense, was A False Start, and I rated this one 3 stars. This was my least favorite of the series. This was my first ever Grumpy Sunshine trope book, and I realized I really don't like it. I don't want to read a book where everything is one-sided, even though it's not. Like, the guy does feel the same, but he doesn't even, like, he's not friendly towards her. He literally like grunts and growls at her, which, like, first of all, what fucking adult does that? Like, it just felt really childish. And then second of all, how is that romantic? How is that, like, how does she still simp after him when he's grunting at her? So once I got past that, once they actually, like, kind of admitted it to each other, I did like it. But that's half the book of just them. I don't know, that's my first ever one, as I said, and I don't think I would read another one because it was just, like, uncomfortable to read. It was just like, why are you guys doing this? This is not natural, this is not cute, this is just not it at all. Like, I just don't enjoy this. So, but again, I rated it 3 stars because it's a 3-star series, and I did like it once they got over their shit and then acted like adults. So yeah. This is about Stefan's little sister, Nadia, from The Front Runner. So, and then Stefan's best friend. So it had the brother's best friend trope, which I did like. I just didn't like the Grumpy Sunshine thing. So yeah, that was the last book that I read in Jan, but we're gonna go back to the second last book because I wanted to keep these in order. And then my final book to run through is, of course, Onyx Storm. Did we expect anything else? So I actually finished this book second last, as I said, but it made sense. I did the same thing in my reading journal. It made sense to keep all the Cowboy Romance, the series, together, and then Onyx Storm separately. So this book absolutely ruined me, and I still haven't recovered. It was everything that I needed and more. I rated it 5 stars, and I could rate it 10 stars, honestly. Looking back, like, Fourth Wing is a 5-star read for me. Iron Flame's probably a 4.5-star read, and this is like 10 stars. This just completely blew apart my expectations. I loved everything about it. I loved how the world expanded. I loved Violet and Xaden fighting on the same team rather than, well, mostly the same team, rather than separate teams. I loved everything about it. I really did. I have seen a lot of criticism for this book, and I think a lot of it comes down to, like, the first 150 pages. People were so confused about who is who and what was what, but I didn't reread the book and I didn't have any problems. I don't know. I feel like, yes, there was a lot of names, but they weren't new people. They were people who had been introduced previously, and it kind of still all made sense to me. So I didn't get that, like, overwhelmed, lost feeling I think that a lot of people did, which may have helped. And then as soon as we started traveling to the other places, I'm not gonna obviously spoil where, but the other places, that that was everything I wanted. I loved learning about the world and the new different sides of the magic system and more about the venin, and it was just it was everything that I wanted it to be and more. The ending obviously was just like blew me apart, but that's kind of what we've come to expect from Rebecca Yarros now. It's just, you know that you're gonna be ruined at the end of her book, and you have to wait for the next one. But yeah, I really have to go back and read the ending again, like probably the last 20 chapters, because so much happens and it just can get a bit, especially on the first read, when you're like really dying to know what happens in the end. I feel like I tend to skip, not skip as in actually skip, but like my brain skips a little bit and doesn't retain everything. So I feel like I really want to go back and read that again just to like really understand what happened. But I mean, I am weak. I'm still in my book hangover, and it's been almost 3 weeks now. So I have read some other books, a couple of which I have loved, but I am not getting through things as quickly. I am not as engaged as I was. I'm in a book hangover. I miss Violet and Xaden. I miss that world. I want to know what happens, and it's just, yeah, the book was everything, and I really am not understanding people that don't like it. Like, I understand there's people out there who don't love the series and don't love romantasy and whatever, but if you are a fan of the series and you didn't like this one, I really don't know how. I don't know. If that's you, I'd really love to know. What is it that you don't like about this book? Because I could go on forever, and I'm not going to, but I loved it. I loved everything about it, 5 stars and beyond, and now we wait for the next one. So yeah, that's it. That's Onyx Storm. Okay, so that's it for the month of January. That's all of the books that I read for the whole month, which I read 9 books. I don't even think I said this at the start. I read 9 books, which is more than I read in the whole of 2024. So I'm off to a really great start. I'm really excited about reading again, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this and I can continue to film these and you guys watch them, because I really enjoy talking about things I'm passionate about, hence why I have a YouTube channel that I talk about planning stuff and now book stuff as well. So if you have any feedback or anything nice, please, that you want to say, let me know. Otherwise I will catch you all in the next video, which I think will be my reading journal January flip through, and then of course I'm going to keep doing my planner content as well. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!